Welcome again to our session. It is a continuation of what we were doing earlier on. Recall in our previous class, we had introduced the concept of taxation of leasing entities. We went ahead and looked at types of leases and also the taxation part of it. So in our session today, to cement this concept very clearly, I want us to handle an illustration question. This illustration question is going to come from our past paper, and the question was tested in August 2021. That is the last sitting. August 2021. August 2021. That question was tested in August 2021. So that's the question that I want us to look at. August 2021. That was question number 3, part B. So let's go through that question together and see what we are required to do so that it's going as that question ideally will assist us to cement that concept of taxation of leases, specifically for hire purchase. So this is our question. We have our question here. Let us go through it together. And this is what we are told. Question number 3B. You are told that the following information was presented by the management of Credit Lenders Limited as of 31st December 2020. The company deals in the sale of manufacturing machines on hire purchase terms. So in that case, you are given note 1. We are told that the company purchases the machines at 600,000 each. So ideally, in that case, what you should mark clearly as you're analyzing the question is the hire purchase, or rather talk about the purchase price. So the purchase price in this case, the purchase price you are given 600,000. We are taking our notes down. The hire purchase price per unit comprises of a deposit of 160,000 and 8 quarterly installments of 80,000. Cash price per unit is 700,000. So basically in that question, my good student, the examiner is giving us in note 2 the hire purchase and the cash price, which we'll be analyzing that one very quickly. Then we are told note 3 that during the year ended at 1st December 2020, the company sold 4,080 manufacturing machines, of which collections of 569,600,000 were received at year end. So, in that case, you are told whatever that was collected during the period. Note 4, we are told that during the year, the company repossessed 80 machines which had been sold earlier in the year. The customer had already paid 6.4 on the units, which was included in the total cash collections for the year. The repossessed units were valued at 520,000 each at year end. So I'm given the repossessed goods. They are those guys who failed to maybe honor their agreement. So that's why these units were repossessed. So you'll see I will be treating the same. Then note 5 here, we are told that expenses incurred in the course of the year included rent expense. We know very well that rent expense is a liable expense. Legal expenses, you know very well that that is a liable expense. We are having, on our legal expenses, there was a note where we are told that out of the amount that was recorded as legal, 320 was in respect of defense against illegal importation of a machine. So by that virtue, we are going to deduct that amount. That amount will not be taken as a liable expense. So out of 1.2, we are going to deduct 320. Advertising and marketing, I was given 525, allowable expense. Salaries and management expenses allowable. Purchase of a mobile forklift in August 2020 at 2.8. So that will attract capital allowance, WTA, and this should be what? Class A. That should be Class A. Note 6, we are told that other incomes included. The Schwann royalties, 289,750 net of withholding tax. We know very well that withholding tax for royalties are always at the rate of 5%, so you'll have to determine the gross amount. Then also we are asked to dividends from Uzima Cooperative Society, 120 net of withholding tax. So that one you know very well is a non-qualifying dividends. Then note 7, we are told in note 7, in that case, note 7, we are told that the Revenue Authority has reached an agreement with the company whereby profit for tax purposes will be determined on the basis of proportionate cash collected from the customers for the year's sales. Because remember, in this case, they can pay for more than 1 year. So the company here agreed with the Revenue Authority that for tax purposes, we are going to consider the proportion of cash collected from the customers for the year sales. So the moment you've seen that case, the concept of unrealized profit should always click at the back of our mind, whereby I am accounting for proportionate of cash collected. The concept of unrealized profits must always tend to click at the back of our mind. Required here, we are told to prepare the taxable profit or loss for credit lenders for the year ended at 1st December 2020. So that's a question that you are given, my good students, August 2021, question number 3, part B. So given such a question, where are we going to start from? Let me see if I can, starting with the workings for note 1 up to 4, first of all. Let me try squeeze it so that you can use it as it is displaying here. So first of all, I want us to analyze up to note 4. I want us to analyze up to note number 4. So the first case here, if you can look at note number 1, we are told that the company purchases the machine at 600,000 each. So therefore, we have our purchase cost. We have our purchase cost here. Our purchase cost is 600,000. Remember, we are dealing with hire purchase, right? We are dealing with hire purchase. And by the virtue of note 7, we mentioned that what should click at the back of our mind is what? Is unrealized profit concept. So that is also what we'll be looking at. So at this point, we have our purchase cost. Then note 2, we are told that the higher purchase price per unit comprises of deposit of 160,000 and 8 quarterly installment of 80,000. Cash price per unit is 700,000. So that in the event that a person has decided to purchase this item in cash, this person is going to pay 700,000 shillings. Suppose we go with higher purchase price. We know very well that higher purchase price will be talking of our deposits plus installment. Deposit plus installment, of course, will give us what? Will give us a higher purchase price. And in our case, what is our deposit, my good students? Our deposit, we are told that this person was supposed to, any time you are selling it at higher purchase, we're having a deposit of 160,000. We are going to add 8 quarterly installment. Each installment, you are paying a figure of 80,000. So that means that at this point we should be talking of higher purchase price. 80,000 by 8, of course, that should give us 560 plus 160. You're talking of roughly like a figure of that is 800,000. So because here let us work it out, confirmation of the same. So I'm having 80,000 by 8. Of course, you're having 640. 640 plus 160. 640 plus 160. We should be talking of what? 800,000, right? So we're having 800,000 being our higher purchase price. So the moment you're having 800,000, already we know our higher purchase price. So that was in note number 2. We've just analyzed note 2. Let us continue to note 3. What were we told in note 3? During the year ended at 1st December 2020, the company sold 4,080 manufacturing machines, of which collections of 569,600,000 were received at year end. So what does that mean? That means that at this point, this is what we should be having, my good students. We are told that we had, in this case, we sold 4,080. So you need to determine the higher purchase sales. Higher purchase sales for the period. Higher purchase sales for the period. We are told that we sold 4,080 units. And recall that higher purchase price was how much? 800,000. So by 800,000. So that should give us a figure of how much? If we take our full figures, not putting them into thousands, we should be talking of 4080. We just take our old figure, 4080 by 800,000. That should give us a figure for 3,264,000, or rather 264 million. So that is the figure that I'm getting. That was the higher purchase sales. That was the higher purchase sales. 3,264 million, right? On the same case, what are we told? We are told on the same note 3, that manufacturing machines, of which collections of 569,000 were received at the year end. Out of our sales, collection for the period, out of our sales, collection for the period, in this case, we are given a figure of collection for the year, we are given a figure of 569,600,000. So we are given a figure of 569,600,000, or rather 569,600,000, correct? So these were our collections. Remember, I was supposed to collect 3 billion because this was a higher purchase sales, but up to the end of the year, we only collected 569,600,000 shillings. 569,600,000 shillings. And by the note, going by note 7, where we are told that the Revenue Authority has reached an agreement with the company whereby profit for tax purposes will be determined on the basis of proportion cash collected from the customers for the year sales. So we need to determine our proportion. In this case, we'll be talking of what? Aspect of our unrealized profit. We need to determine our unrealized profit on the same. But before that, look at the statement again. Note 4. During the year, the company repossessed 80 units. During the year, the company repossessed 80 units, 80 machines, which had been sold earlier in the year. The customers had already paid 6.4 of the units, which was included in cash, in total cash collections for the year. The repossessed units were valued at 520,000 each at year end. So my good students, this is what you must always have in mind, that out of our sales and out of our collection, we did have a component of the units that were repossessed. Meaning that probably these customers did not fulfill our agreement as what we had agreed. And therefore, it was the duty of the company to go and repossess these machines. But remember, there were amounts which were already collected from these customers. At the same time, in our figure here, we had counted that amount for these repossessed goods. So the question will be, what will be our actual amount which is outside? In this case, we are talking of debtors. And in this case also, we should be able to determine our gross profit. So basically, in this case, analyzing that, we are having repossessed goods, repossessed units. We are told we had 80 units. And collections from repossession, collection from repossessed goods, collection from repossessed goods. You are given a figure format there. Collection from repossessed goods, we are given a figure of 6.4. Collection from repossessed goods, collection from repossessed goods, collection from repossessed goods. We are given a figure of 6,400,000. So that is the figure that you are given, 6.4. Now, in this case, what we need to do after we've done that analysis is we want to determine our unrealized profit on these goods. And unrealized profit, how will we determine our UPS? How will you determine our UPS? That will be very simple, because our UPS, unrealized profit on these sales, we should be talking of our higher purchase debtors, in our case, hire purchase debtors, we are going to divide by our hire purchase sales. These are hire purchase outstanding debtors. Outstanding. Talk about outstanding. Outstanding debtors. Outstanding debtors. Outstanding debtors, of course. We divide by hire purchase sales, then we multiply by what? Our gross profit. Then we multiply by our gross profit. Then we multiply by our gross profit. Remember, this is for what? This is for hire purchase, UPS, on the sales that we had. And also remember, we'll also be required to determine UPS on the repossessed goods. We'll also be required to determine the UPS on the repossessed commodities. Now, the question will be, how will we determine our hire purchase outstanding debtors? How will we determine our hire purchase outstanding debtors? Let me remove this so that we've already analyzed everything. Now it's just a matter of working it out. So first thing first, let's determine our purchase outstanding debtors. Hire purchase outstanding debtors. Hire purchase outstanding debtors. Hire purchase outstanding debtors. That will be very easy because this is how we are going to work it out, my good students. We know very well that out of the 3,264,000, that was inclusive of the items that we had repossessed. So in this case, we can agree and say that we should be having, in this case, we should be having, out of this, we need to determine our outstanding data. So I'm going to take the 4080, the total units that you are disposed, we less what? The 80, in that case, to remain with what we'll be having, times the higher purchase sales. In this case, we had what? 800,000, right? So first of all, that should give us how much? So that should give us, remember we are working it out. So we are determining first of all our total. These will be our total sales. These will be our total sales. Let us work it out here so that we should not squeeze our work. Allow mwalimu to work it out here so that we should not squeeze our work. Our main aim here, we want to determine our hire purchase outstanding debtors. Hire purchase outstanding debtors. That is our aim. Hire purchase outstanding debtors. Determining our hire purchase outstanding debtors, the first thing that we need to do is to determine our hire purchase sales. Hire purchase sales. And hire purchase sales, this is what we are saying, that initially we had 4,080. But out of 4,080, my good students, we are told that we repossessed 80 units. Correct? After repossessing 80 units, in this case, we remained with 4,000 units. And our hire purchase sales was how much? We had already determined our purchase sales to be 800,000. So by 800,000. That should give us a figure of how much? That should give us 4,000 by 800,000 to give me a figure of 3.2. 3.2. That should give us a 3.2 billion, of course. Then, out of that, we need to consider how much did we receive. Collections. Talk about collections. Talk about collections. In this case, or receipts from debtors. What were we told in regard to receipts from debtors? Receipts from debtors, in this case, you are told that receipts from debtors, we had 569 million total collections. 569 million was our total collection. 569 million 600,000. But out of this collection, my good students, what you should realize is that we had collection from the repossessed goods. So we need to deduct the collection from repossessed goods, 6.4. So that as at the end of the day, how much will we remain with? In that case, we can take the 569 million 600,000 with less 6.4 million. That should give me a figure of 563,200,000. So that is what we collected, meaning that whatever that remained, that will give us our outstanding debtors. So therefore, our outstanding debtors, we should be talking of 3.2 billion minus answer. In that case, I'm having 2,636,800,000. That is the figure that Mwalimu is getting. Kindly you can confirm with Mwalimu. So we can confidently say that this will be our outstanding debtors. We can confidently say that this is our outstanding debtors. Outstanding debtors, we can have our outstanding debtors at that point. So we have our outstanding debtors. We have our hire purchase sales. What about our gross profit, my good students? What about our gross profit? How will we determine our gross profit? To determine our gross profit, again, will be very simple, because this is what you are going to do. Our GP, we know very well that our hire purchase sales, in this case, we had 800,000. The purchase cost, we had 600,000. Remember our analysis? 600,000. And the units that we are selling as at the end of the day, we are having 4,000 units. So that should give us our gross profit, which in that case, we should be talking of a figure of how much? 200,000 times 4,000, that should give me a figure of 800 million. We should be talking of a figure of 800 million being our gross profit, being our gross profit, being our gross profit. So up to that point, I know now we can confidently come and determine our UPS. So unrealized profit on our sales, unrealized profit on our sales, we should be talking of the outstanding debtors, which in this case is 2,636,800,000. We divide by our hire purchase sales, 3.2 billion. We multiply by our debtors, in this case, our gross profit. We have determined our gross profit to be how much? We determine our gross profit to be 800,000. So we multiply by 800,000. 800 million in this case, sorry. So what will be our figure? I'm just going to work it out directly from our calc, whereby in this case, I'm going to take our answer. We multiply by 236, or rather 2,636, 800,000. We divide by 3.2 million. So in that case, I'm having, kindly you can confirm with Mwalimu. Mwalimu is getting unrealized profit to be 659 million, 200,000. So that is what Mwalimu is getting to be unrealized profit. That unrealized profit, you'll see where is going to affect us. So kindly know that to be our unrealized profit on sales. It will also be very ideal for us to calculate unrealized profit on repossessed goods. Unrealized profit on repossessed units, on repossessed units, on repossessed units. Unrealized profit on repossessed units. The same concept will apply for us to determine unrealized profit. The same concept will apply. And how will we go about it? We need to determine the outstanding debtors on repossessed goods. Outstanding debtors, outstanding debtors, outstanding debtors, outstanding debtors on the repossessed goods. Outstanding debtors of the repossessed goods. We divide by the hire purchase sales on the repossessed goods. We multiply by the gross profit on the repossessed goods. Kindly recall that we are talking about on repossessed goods, on repossessed goods. Basically, all this, it is on the repossessed goods, which you should have in mind. So, outstanding debtors on the repossessed goods, what should we be having? Our outstanding debtors, our outstanding debtors on the repossessed goods we should be talking of. In this case, they had already paid. First of all, we should be talking of what was expected. The higher purchase sales that was expected from our debtors, we had 80 by 800,000, right? This is what we were expecting, 80 by 800,000, which should give us a figure of how much? 80 by 800,000 should give us a figure of 64 million. This is what you are expecting from them, 64 million. But out of the 64 million, my good students, what were we told? How much did we receive from them? Out of that, how much had we received from them? How much had we received from them? We had received 6.4. We had received 6.4. So collections, we had 6.4. Collection, we had 6.4 million. So that means that in our case, 64 minus 6.4. So that should give us 57,600,000. So this will be our outstanding debtors. That will be our outstanding debtors. What about our gross profit? Our gross profit, that will be very simple because our gross profit, our GP here, we should be talking of. Our gross profit, we should be talking of. Remember, we're looking of unrealized, right? So the same concept will apply. We are going to talk of the 800,000, or rather 800,000 being our cost, minus, or rather sales minus 600,000 being our cost. We multiply by the repossessed goods, which in this case we had what? 80. So that should give us a figure of 200,000 by 80. 200,000 by 80, I'm getting a figure of 16 million. So we are having here 16 million. 16 million. So meaning that our UPS on the repossessed goods, we should be talking of what? We should be talking of the outstanding debtors, which is 57.6. So UPS on repossessed goods, this is what you're having. UPS on repossessed goods, we should be talking of the outstanding debtors, 57.6. We divide by higher purchase sales, which in this case is 64 million. We multiply by our gross profit, which in this case we've seen to be 16 million. So what will be our UPS? That will be very simple, because what we are going to do, answer and multiply that one by 57.6 million, divide by 64 million. So that should give us 14,400,000. So 14 million. So I'm getting here 14,400,000. 14,400,000. So that is what we should be having, 14,400,000. Now, after we have determined that case, my good students, it will be upon us, because you know very well that these items, first of all, they are going to affect us, the aspect to do with the UPS. Then it's upon us to determine, in this case, more so for the repossessed goods, did we have a loss or gain on repossession? Excuse, that's the next thing that we should determine. So allow me to erase here, because already we've used all these items. Just marking the figures here so that we should not repeat it ourselves. Higher purchase sales, I'm just mapping them so that we should not repeat ourselves. Higher purchase sales is 264 billion. I'm just writing them so that we should not repeat our figures. So I think that's the figure that we'll be using. Now, come and prepare our repossession account. The question is, do you still recall how to prepare your repossession account? That's a big question that you should ask yourself. Do you still recall or remember how to prepare your repossession account? That question I want you to answer yourself, because Mwalimu is going to do it here for us. So, looking at our repossession account. The main essence of us preparing our repossession account, my good students, we just want to determine if we had a loss or gain on repossession. That's our main idea. We want to determine, or our agenda is to determine if we had a loss or gain on repossession. So, looking at that case, we are talking about our realized, or rather we are talking about, of course, the repossessed amount. The repossessed amount, already we have them there. The repossessed amount, already we have our repossessed amount. Then we also had what? Hire purchase debtors. So what you are going to do here is, first of all, consider our unrealized profit, always on the credit side. Remember the format of repossession account. Talking about unrealized profit. This is on repossessed goods. We do have how much? 14.4. We do have 14.4. So we're having 14,400,000. Consider our valuation. Suppose we decide to sell these items that we repossessed. How much will we realize? So valuation of the repossessed goods. What were we told in our note? Let Mwalimu share that question here with us so that we can see what you are given. In our valuation, we can clearly see in note number 4, where we are told that these goods, the repossessed units, were valued at 520 each at the year end. So these goods repossessed can now realize only 520,000. So therefore, we are going to take 520,000. We multiply that one by the goods that were repossessed, which in this case we had 80. So 520 by 80, how much will we be having? 520,000 by 80 should give us a figure 41,600,000. 41,600,000. Okay. Then consider our hire purchase debtors. Remember the hire purchase debtors, we are talking about what? The aspect of the unrealized, because our concentration is only on unrealized. So what were we given as our hire purchase debtors? Hire purchase debtors, I think we had already determined that figure somewhere. Outstanding debtors, we already determined that figure somewhere. Outstanding debtors, yes, we had it here. We had our figure here to be 57,600,000. So hire purchase debtors, we had 57,600,000. So determining if we had either a gain or loss on repossession. Because whatever that was outside was 57,600,000. And in this case, suppose we dispose these items, and also we consider our valuation plus unrealized profit, what will we get? 41.6, we add 14.4. In this case, you are getting 56 million, right? You are getting 56 million. If we add, you are getting 56 million. But what about our outstanding debtors? Outstanding debtors is 57.6, meaning that at this point we had a loss on repossession. We had loss on repossession. We had loss on repossession. We had a figure of how much? Loss on repossession. We should be talking of, this is 57.6 million. We less the figure that we had, 56. So 57.6. We less answer, we should be having 1.6. Being on the credit side. So this is loss on repossession. These are loss on repossession, which we are going to consider. That is our loss on repossession, which we will be looking at it. So the moment you do have that case, my good students, now preparing our statement will be very easy. It should take us not more than 5 minutes now to prepare our statement. So we're having 57.6 here. So allow Mwalimu to write our figures here, the UPS, so that we should not, we are going to need that. UPS 659, 200,000. This was on sales. Then we are having here aspect to do the UPS on unrealized profit. We had UPS on unrealized profit to be a figure of 14.4. So having that case, this is what you're going to use, and now we can confidently come and prepare our profit statement. So allow Mwalimu to erase here. So now preparing the statement of this farm, the name of the farm here, we had the name of the farm to be, the name of the farm here, we were told lenders, credit lenders. So I'm having credit lenders. We need to prepare their statement. Credit lenders. Talk about credit lenders. Computation of taxable profit or loss. Computation of taxable profit or loss for the year ended 31st December 2020. Always remember that. Each and every time, whenever you're having your title will also give you a point. So never dismiss the title that you're having in your exams. That one will also give you a point. So our work will just be copying and pasting, because you are going to start with the higher purchase sales. Remember the total figure that we had? Higher purchase sales. Our figures here are in thousands, or rather just take them in shillings. Higher purchase sales, recall, we had a figure of 40-80 by the 800,000, recall. We had determined a figure, that's why Mwalimu will say that we will be using it. We got a figure for 3,264,000, or rather 264 million. Talk about our cost. Of sales. Cost of sales, each item, we are told we are purchasing each item at how much? 600,000. So I'm having here 40-80 by 600,000. So that should give us a figure of how much? 40-80 by 600,000 will give us a figure of 2,448,000. 448 million. So that as at the end of the day, we should be talking of 3,264. 3,264 to give us a figure of 816. 816 million, right? To give us a figure of 816 million. 816 million. That will be our GP. We less the unrealized profits. So we have unrealized profit on sales, of course, UPS on sales, the unrealized profit on sales. In this case, we had a figure of, we are determining a figure for 659,200. So we are determining a figure for 659,200,000. That is what we had. Talk about UPS on unrealized profit. UPS on unrealized profit. UPS not on unrealized but on repossessed goods, sorry. On repossessed goods. On repossessed goods. Which in this case we had determined a figure of course, 14,400,000. Also talk about the aspect of loss on repossession. Loss on repossession. Loss on repossession, we had a figure of 1.6. Loss on repossession, we had a figure of 1.6. So clearly that would give us how much? 816 minus 659,200 plus 14,400 plus 1.6. So that should give us a figure of 140,800,000. Kindly confirm with Mwalimu. 140,800,000. 140,800,000. 140,800,000. Then identify if we had other operating expenses in our question. Now come to our question. I believe by now the other bit you can clear. Up to that point, the other bit I know you can clear. So you are told that expenses incurred during the year in note 5. Expenses incurred during the year. Let us have it here. Expenses incurred during the year. Expenses incurred during the year, that is what we have. Expenses incurred during the year. We start with aspect to do with number 1, rent expenses. So talk about with less expenses. Number 1, we are talking about aspect to do with rent expenses. Rent expenses, we had 420,000. Legal expenses, we are having 1.2 minus 320,000, because the 320 we are told that it related to respect to defense against legal importation. So I'm having 1.2 minus 320,000. That should give us 880. We are done with this case. We are done with this. So allow Mwalimu to erase here, right? We are having 880,000. Talk about another expense here, which in this case we had advertising and marketing expense. Advertising and marketing expense. Advertising and marketing expense. We had a figure of 525,000. Talk about salaries and management expenses. Salaries and management expenses. Salaries and management expenses. We had a figure of 890,000. 890,000. We had purchase of forklift. So we are talking of capital allowance here. Talk of capital allowance. Capital allowance in this case we had 2.8. We know very well that the new rate for class A is 25%. So 2.8 by 25%. That should give us 2.8 by 25% to give me a figure of 700,000. And that's why Mwalimu mentioned that this will just be copying and pasting, right? So in that regard, we don't have any other expense. So come and determine our total here. Total expense 420 plus 880 plus 525 plus 890 plus 700,000. That should give us 3,415,000 for 20 plus 880 plus 525 plus 890 plus 700 to give us 3,415,000, right? So our business income, remember it's not taxable income, but our business income. Therefore, our business income here, we should be talking of 140, 800 minus that to give us 137, 385, 137, 385, 137, 385. That should be our business income. That should be our business income. After that point, we need to add other incomes. Add other incomes. Add other incomes. To add our other incomes, what will we be considering? To add our other incomes, we should be talking of the following. Look at note number. Look at this note. Note 7. Not note 7, but note 6. What are we told in note 6? Royalties of 289,750, net of withholding tax and dividends from Uzima Cooperative Society 120, net of withholding tax. That is note number 6. It will give us our other incomes. So our other incomes, my good students, this is what we should have, our other incomes. Talk about royalties. Talk about our royalties. We are given a figure of 289,750, which was net. So remember, whatever that we're supposed to take here, we're supposed to take what? Gross. We are supposed to consider our gross income. So we are talking of 289,750, meaning that is our net. Net is always 95%. Less net is 95% because royalties withholding tax is 5%. So it means that our net is 95%. So this is 95. What about 100? What about 100? So therefore, we need to take our gross 289,750 by 100. We divide by 95. That should give us 305,000. Dividends from cooperative societies. Dividends from COP. Dividends from COP. The same case, you are given a net amount. A net amount of how much? We are given a net amount of 120. Dividends from Uzima Cooperative Society, 120 net. So it means that 120 net, that is the same as 85% because withholding tax is always 15%. So what about 100% of it? What about 100%? So 100%, we should get a figure of 120 by 100. We divide by 85. That is, of course, that should give us a figure of 141, 176, because we are talking of 120 by 100. We divide by 85 to give us 141, 176. So that as at the end of the day, what will be our total taxable income? Our total taxable income, therefore, will be our total taxable income. What will be our total taxable income? We sum up our figures there. So therefore, we should be talking of the 137,385. We add 305. We add 141,176. So that should give us a figure of how much here? 137,831, 176. So that is what we were required to do in that question. Hire purchase, a very interesting bit, and now it will be very common because remember it is also in our current syllabus. So to that juncture, thank you so much. Next class, we are going to meet and handle another question for hire purchase. To this point, thank you so much, and let us meet in the next session. Thank you.